through all that has changed over the last 21 years, the enduring resolve of the American people to defend ourselves against those who seek us harm and deliver justice to those responsible for the attacks against our people has never once faltered. It took 10 years to hunt down and kill Osama bin Laden, but we did. And this summer, I authorized a successful strike on Zawahiri, the man who bin Laden was his deputy on 9/11, who was the leader of al-Qaeda, because we will not rest. We'll never forget. We'll never give up. And now Zawahiri can never again threaten the American people in 20 years after Afghanistan is over. But our commitment to preventing another attack in the United States is without end. Our intelligence, defense, and counterterrorism professionals in the building behind me and across the government continue their vigilance against terrorist threats that has evolved and spread to new regions of the world. We'll continue to monitor and disrupt those terrorist activities wherever we find them, wherever they exist, and we'll never hesitate to do what's necessary to defend the American people.
Tonight, Ukraine is on the offensive and quickly gaining ground, reclaiming the largest swath of Russian-controlled territory since April, when forces pushed the Russians out of the outskirts of Kyiv. President Zelenskyy saying Ukraine has liberated at least 30 settlements and reclaimed nearly 1,000 square miles of land around Kharkiv, the country's second-largest city, including taking back the town of Izum, a strategically important railway hub, which was seized by Russian forces in the spring after a week-long battle. The Russians acknowledging they're pulling troops from Kharkiv, but saying it's only to redeploy them to the east. The United States praising Ukraine's advancements.
We see success in Kherson now. We see some success in Kharkiv, and so that's very, very encouraging.
The liberation emotional for Ukrainians living under Russian-controlled territory for months. Neighbors hugging and thanking Ukrainian soldiers. Soviet-era flags are coming down as Ukrainian flags are being raised. But there's still grave concern about Europe's largest nuclear plant that's rapidly deteriorating as the fighting intensifies.
Let me be clear. The shelling around Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant must stop, and a nuclear safety and security protection zone agreed immediately.
It's good to remember. These memories help us heal, but they can also open up the hurt and take us back to that moment when the grief was so raw. You think of everything they could have done if they had lived and just had a little more time. The experience you missed together, the dreams they never got to fulfill or realize. I remember a message sent to the American people from Queen Elizabeth. It was on September 11. Her ambassador read a prayer of service at St. Thomas Church in New York, where she poignantly reminded us, quote, "Grief is the price we pay for love. Grief is the price we pay for love." Many of us experienced that grief, and you've all experienced it. And on this day, when the price feels so great, Jill and I are holding all of you close to our hearts.
President Biden has just officially accepted the formal invitation to attend the state funeral, which will be a week from tomorrow on the 19th of September there at Westminster Abbey. But as you think about the worldwide reaction, John, to the Queen's death, we have seen some controversial exchanges on social media over Queen Elizabeth's legacy to countries that were once British colonies. So as a historian, what is your take on that conversation?
Well, there's a cognitive dissonance here. The fact that, and you've asked this question, here we are in the United States of America, which beginning on July 4th, 1776, issued a searing indictment of King George III in order to create a country based not on a hereditary monarchy, but on an idea, the idea that we are all created equal and endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights. We then forged a constitution to drive us toward a more perfect union. And much of the American experiment is founded on the idea that autocracy is to be avoided and democracy is to be pursued. So that's our ambient reality. And yet here we are, fascinated by a kind of, if I may, soft autocratic, this is soft autocracy. It's largely ceremonial. But there's a dissonance there. And I think that part of it is that the United States, because our head of state and our head of government are one person, and that's the President of the United States, who, by constitutional design, serves for either 4 or 8 years. We have, for us, the passions of politics cannot be separated from, by and large, from occasions of state. And the British found a way to divide the two, so that prime ministers are, and this is very much part of the plan, right? They're part of what's known as the efficient part of the Constitution. They do the work. And then the Windsors are part of what's known as the dignified element of the Constitution. They represent symbolically what unifies us. I think that one of the things that's a characteristic, an unavoidable one, of American politics and American history is that for us, unity is more elusive because the people who are entrusted with the task of producing unity are also inherently political creatures. And so it's just incredibly difficult. They found a workaround.
Good to remember. These memories help us heal, but they can also open up the hurt and take us back to that moment when the grief was so raw. You think of everything they could have done if they had lived and just had a little more time. The experience you missed together, the dreams they never got to fulfill or realize. I remember a message sent to the American people from Queen Elizabeth. It was on September 11. Her ambassador read a prayer of service at St. Thomas Church in New York, where she poignantly reminded us, quote, "Grief is the price we pay for love."